finer tip, and I'm going to take some aggressive flakes, as aggressive as I can. I only have one pass at this, unless I make it much smaller, but I don't want to waste material, so one pass is my goal. Just kind of a test flake. May have to go back to the fatter tip. My finger could be interfering also. It's kind of a drawback with the indirect percussion like this. My fingers could be stopping. Sometimes the material will react badly to pressure on the face when you're running a flake. So I didn't have my fingers anywhere near it. It looks like it ran pretty good. I'm going to have to do some straightening. It's starting to look kind of wobbly. But for the most part, this material looks pretty solid, so I shouldn't have any trouble with the damage control to get this straightened back out. See how that last flake took a big scoop out? It left some mass here, and this is kind of a mistake from the other side. Excessive mass there, but excuse me. Alright, so I'm going to see what I can do here. I think I'm going to switch to back to the fatter tip flaker. And what this does, it produces a wider flake to start with. It's pretty much the same as the other one, except I can deliver more power to create a wider flake. And of course it's going to be wide with the flat surface anyway, but just I'd like it to start wide, and it'll probably stop short of the other edge. You know, it'll stop right around here, I guess, but I can get it from the other side. I can't, this was a lucky shot. I can't do this over and over again with any certainty. See how it stopped right before the edge there? Flake went all the way over and stopped right before it overshot. Any further and I would have taken some off the other edge. I can't depend on that type of flaking. I've got to assume the next ones are not going to be nearly that long. Maybe 3/4 of the way. And it's also good to plan on that because it is thin. I don't want to shoot too far or get too confident. Alright. I also don't want to tuck too much. See, it starts kind of wide. See how it widens out right away with a fatter tip? It doesn't always do that, but most of the time it'll do that. Whereas this one here, I took some of it off, but this one started out really narrow and then widened out. I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. but I just like using a fatter tip when I want to make these wide flakes. Okay, let me see. Now that was skimmed off an extremely thin flake, which is good. They just don't run as far in most cases. I don't want to. The reason why nothing's coming off is I'm not hitting very hard. I don't want it to snap somewhere up here, so I'm being very gentle on the base. Can't let any indentations develop that'll catch this, because as soon as it starts catching, you run the risk of popping the tip off. Alright, so original surface, I don't have much left. Just that little area. Let's switch back to the finer tip. Almost. That's going to be your hardest part. Everyone has trouble with that part of the point. Again, almost. Just a little bit left in the middle. Okay, so I'm not out of the woods yet. I still got some original surface there. And again, that's always the most difficult spot, where it's widest, just because of the width. Now, if I'm careful here, I can probably take a flake from the base and clear that off. But everything else has to be perfect. I can't have any cracks starting on the edges, because when I have to hit that kind of hard from the base, I don't want any of this to snap off. I don't want any of this to, start spreading from one of these little radial cracks into the body when I hit the base. So I'm going to clean up the edges. This also helps to eliminate some of the step fractures, of course, that are close to the edge, in theory. Okay, well at this point, let's see. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. Some might be thinking, why didn't I just go down to this basic shape, right? At this width and shape, and still thick, and then just run flakes with a pressure flaker to get the thinness, and then just work on the edge. That is a strategy. Of course, you can use that. I wanted to demonstrate using percussion flakes because that's one, that's my style, and number two, sometimes you may not be getting the results you want with pressure flaking. So that's why I do it that way. But yeah, you can just take it down to basically this shape, you know, with the zigzag flaking all the way around, just a little bit wider than this, and then just run pressure flakes across this kind of a narrow preform, and then clean up the edges. Yeah, you can do that. Okay, but I'm just showing you how to do the bold flaking with indirect percussion. Hopefully it's in focus the whole time. But what I'm going to do is I am going to try to take a flake from the base to clean that up. I'll go faster and not talk too much for the final stages. Need to do some cosmetic work here. I'll get that out in the next video. That's just not paying attention. I'm not paying attention when that happens. Alright, so far I don't want to lose too much more width. It's right at 1 inch. Now when you just do pressure to thin it down or to remove the original surface, sometimes it looks too manufactured, or you're not getting the tapered from fat to thin, and it looks a little bit too flat. That's another reason why I forgot. Oh, another reason that I forgot to mention, using this indirect method, you can kind of get a slightly lumpy appearance, which makes it look like it was not made from a slab. Okay. Alright, so let me I'm going to get up and walk around a little bit so I can focus on getting this done, because it's already really thin. One of the most difficult things for anyone to do in flint knapping is to do cosmetic work and thinning out a thin point. Right, it's already very thin, but I still got a lot of cosmetic work to do. That happens to be one of the most difficult things in flint knapping, and it does apply specifically to slabs too, because you have that problem with slabs. Okay.